This video is to show you how to schedule in Planning Center, or more specifically what is called services. Since Planning Center is the company, services is what we work with for scheduling people primarily or specifically for the weekend worship services. My brain went to worship when I was trying to say weekend. So let me actually kind of start here. First of all, I would recommend bookmarking Planning Center. So I have that underneath my church folder here. I hit Planning Center, and once this loads in a web browser, now for me personally it comes to this plans type, but if I back out of this worship, you might see Cornerstone Church as a whole, and you have our major ministries there. If that's your view, go ahead and click on worship, and it gets back to what we just saw. We're primarily working out of this weekend service. This arrow here on the left, if I click that, it closes that, and you kind of have the different service types. I'm actually going to get rid of that worship event, I think. I've typically been using night of worship for things like Christmas Eve or something like that. But if you click on that arrow, you see the upcoming services that I've created already. Or you could, maybe look at some past ones. But typically you're going to leave that as is, and we're just working on scheduling, and I'm trying to make this video as quick as possible, so I'm not talking about every single thing. But to schedule, the best way to do it is in the matrix mode. So you see over here on the right hand side this matrix button, but beside it you have the arrow. So you click the arrow, and now you're going to set your parameters of how many services you want to look at. Here at Cornerstone, we like to have 3 months planned out in advance. So for example, we're coming to the end of January, so as a worship ministry, we're going to be emailing the worship team, that's both musicians and the tech team, to give us their blockout dates for April. So they should already have their blockout dates for March and February, so we can schedule with a lot of confidence that they'll be available and ready to serve. So I'm going to put 12. I might want to do some previous plans. For me personally, when I'm doing the music or the tech team, that helps me know where people were scheduled recently, especially if I'm behind in scheduling. But once you have your parameters set, we'll back that down to 1. Go ahead and hit matrix. And notice above there, really quick, there is a larger matrix, so that would have done all of those service types within worship. But we just want to do the weekend really quick. You might need or realize maybe you didn't add enough here at the end, or there's another service that happens. For example, I know there's a night of worship on the 13th. You can still load a plan, and it brings up this little window. So again, night of worship, so there's a 13th. So that helps me, schedule, say if I needed somebody on the tech team or whatnot, you can hit back there and load, something different. Like we have a worship-wide gathering here on the 28th, so it adds that. Once you're done, close that out, and now you see this. As you would suspect, on the left-hand side, there's these little arrows here where you can close things. We're going to look at the service team, or service leads, as well as the plan details here in a second. I'm going to, by way of example, do the preaching. So Todd is typically on a 2-week preaching, 1 week off. So Todd needs another one here. So I'm going to go ahead and schedule Todd here. I just hit that box there, one person needed. Brings up this window. These are all people on the quote-unquote preaching team. If someone is on there that is not a part of the team, no problem. As long as they're in Planning Center as an account, they can be added down here. So for example, I've never preached, but if you type in my name, it brings me up, and then you can add me to that team. But we're not going to do that. You could, if you want to hide people that are blocked out. So let's look at these red and yellow here. Red means they've blocked that date out. So you see here on the side, Gary has blocked that out for a few months here. And then down here, Mitch is yellow, means not preferred, and it tells you over here what that preference is. If that is a number, like Gary's up here and it's a 1, that means that they're scheduled that weekend somewhere else. But we want to schedule Todd this weekend, so we click his name, little box, hit accept, and now it enters his name. Notice there's a little envelope icon. That means that he has not been emailed yet. So if we want to email him or a bunch of people that we just scheduled, go up here to this, email these people. You click that, brings up a window. 99% of the time, you do kind of want to look at the teams. You kind of have a confirmation of how many people are going to be emailing. Sometimes that might look a little odd. For some reason, maybe I need to just figure this out. I always need to add the tech team in. But once that is done, move that. Hit next. And it's going to bring up this blank form here, as well as a confirmation of who is getting emailed. 99% of the time, you don't have to touch that unless you want to add a little note. Send, and it's been sent. Now, say for example, I make a mistake and I realize, oh, wait a second, Todd isn't preaching that weekend, or I need to change something. Notice here that little, basically that's a delete button, that little red, or edit. So let me click on edit. You can change some things there, who it replies to. We don't like that. Let me move my screen again. We're going to cancel that. Because actually what we need to do is just remove that person. So we hit X, it'll ask you, are you sure you want to remove this person? Yes. And now you can just click it again and schedule. Now, for example, notice when I go over, let me point this out, one person needed. If I hit plus or minus, if I hit plus, now it's going to, in this role of preaching, it's going to want 2 people needed. I've never done this before. Let me schedule Todd. I'm guessing, yeah. So if there are 2 people preaching that weekend, you could do something like that. But if you don't need that, and I'm going to remove it, just hit the little red X. So there's ways to get out of that, or the red minus sign. And since I kind of redid that email, I'm just going to leave that. And I think for the sake of everything, that is as quick and as best I could do that. Oh yeah, I want to point out this. With the plan timing, and this would be for Todd when he's scheduling the preaching. All of these, I've entered those myself. What we want there is the sermon title and any scripture. For some reason, the scriptures didn't get entered, I'm not sure. Notice to get in these and change them, I just click in that spot. But notice it's highlighted, so if I start typing, it automatically goes over it. That's okay. You can hit undo or Command Z, and then just either click, or you could hit your arrow key. But you can't really use return in here. So what you have to do is somehow, put a couple spaces, and just for the sake of putting in a scripture. Once you have your information in there, you hit enter and it saves that spot, or even just click out of that box. Excuse me. So I'm going to hit my arrow key, go to the end of that, and delete that. So we do want the scriptures in there. It helps us as a worship leader to know what scriptures are going to be referenced. It helps us to pick the songs out. There are some plan notes here in general. So for example, really quick, I put a note up here. What I like about putting things in the plan title is it puts that very visible when you go to the individual service. And maybe we'll look at that in a second. But I could, if I want to, put notes in general. The problem with putting it there is people might not see it. So at least with how we are running things right now in the worship ministry, we just want to put it up there for anything important. So you see we have like baptisms that week, communion that week, things that communion weekend, things that we need to be aware of, which technically could be down there, but again, I'm afraid it might get missed. So once that's good and it's all plugged in, that's it. You don't have to hit save or anything. I'm actually going to go back to services and point out what I showed you here. So I'm going to look at February 19th and 20th, and again, see here in the title, it puts that information. And then if I click on that individual service, it puts it up there as well. So that's another thing, because I'm not sure that I even know where to look for those general notes. And for the sake of that video, I'm not going to, for the sake of this video, I'm not going to waste time on that right now. So anyways, hope that helps. And let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, that should be good. Talk to you soon.